Our pool is too small. We need something else. Like all other rings, we have only women and children. I think we need a man.
But not just any man.
We need somebody that no one's gonna miss.
Someone brown.
Yeah.
Do you know anyone?
I think I know somebody. I think you know him too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is he an easy target? We'll make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
All
I
in.
Yeah.
All right. So we need a plan.
We need to get him to go somewhere. And
This classroom, it's literally perfect.
we could have a fake class. And he presents.
Yeah, he's a public speaker, right?
Yeah. And we can get him to present on human trafficking.
The irony.
I
The
love
irony.
it.
So we need a fake teacher.
I can do that.
Yeah?
I got that covered.
Perfect. So we're gonna put on a fake class presentation. What is our step 2?
We need some extra hands. We can't get him by ourselves.
Okay.
Do you know somebody?
I know the perfect person.
Good. Otherwise, we'd be screwed right now. Because he's probably really heavy to carry. Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna call him up. Hey man, what's up?
Yeah, live around the area.
Perfect. Okay, so I need a favor.
Yeah, how can I help you?
No, this Wednesday. Are you free?
Yeah,
All right. The payout is going to be big, I promise.
nothing like Moscow, right?
It's not going to be anything like Moscow.
Okay.
All right. I'll see you then.
Is it?
We're good?
Oh yeah.
Alright. So.
So our step 2.
That's it. It was him. We just needed that one.
So,
piece.
kidnapping.
Kidnap Joe with the help of our new friend. It's perfect.
Okay.
Step 3.
Sell him to the highest bidder.
Yeah, what else is there to do?
Simplistic, I love it. Less for me to write. Step 3. Sell him to the highest bidder. Step 4.
Profit.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
Welcome class to our presentation on human trafficking. I have asked a special guest to present our beautiful PowerPoint I created. His name is Joe Sebastian, and I would like you to give him a warm welcome.
Hello everyone, I'm Professor Sebastian. This is my presentation on human trafficking. Click next please. Human trafficking is defined as the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of people. Next please. Every year about 800,000 people are victims of trafficking across international borders in 127 countries. It's a lot of countries. Oh boy.
Wait, I have a question.
What's up?
How many countries did you say? I missed that.
127.
Okay, is that going to be on the test?
Yes, that will be.
I don't know. Depends on how I feel that day. Alright, before I was rudely interrupted. In the US, 14,500 to 17,500 people have become victims of human trafficking. And currently there are 200,000 survivors alive in this country. I don't know how that number came to be, but I just, not paraphrase, I literally copied and pasted that. What are you doing?
Like super zoom. Sorry.
Alright, well, human trafficking is the second most lucrative enterprise in the world after drug trafficking. It is also the fastest growing, according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Any more questions? No? Cool. My classroom of 3 people. Most victims are women and children who are abducted, sold, or tricked into commercial sex. Almost 6 in 10 identified trafficking survivors are trafficked for sexual exploitation. 20.9 million adults and children are brought and sold worldwide into commercial sex and prostitution. Specifically, about 2 million children are exploited every year in the global commercial sex trade.
I have another question.
Done.
What is the percentage of men who are in sex with?
A very small percentage of men are in it because testosterone. Or,
Is that also going to be on the test?
yep, exactly, just like I answered it. Write that down. Next, please. Alright. Forced prostitution is illegal in all countries, while regular prostitution differs in legal status by country. In a lot of countries, especially poor ones, child prostitution is a very serious problem, and many tourists in the Western world travel to these countries to engage in child sex tourism. Child sex work is very common, and girls make up 98% of sexual exploitation victims.
Can you elaborate on the second bullet, please?
Yeah, I gotta reread it. What's your specific question on that, Sabrina?
Can you just elaborate on it a little?
Alright, you know, you have people that porn sites, and then they'll have like those ads where it's like,
Yeah.
where it's like they'll literally have like the child things, and like
Free horse sex.
the creeps that like click it, they end up it ends up being like some kind of like trap from the FBI to capture them. So, well, when you see from the Western world, it almost always means like us. So it would literally just be like grown adult men that have some kind of sick fetish for children, and as a result, they go there because they know that they can use monetary means to acquire such.
Just say that.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Child sex work is very common, and girls make up to 98% of sexual exploitation victims. Next, please. I don't remember putting a vote there.
So where was that again?
India, Russia, South Africa.
Wakey, wakey.
Why am I handcuffed? What are you doing here? Sabrina? Ken? Holy shit, what are you guys doing? Why are my shoes missing? What are those?
Crystal, I'm going to be reading off this computer, so apologize beforehand, but I just wrote out a lot of what I think is the most serious takeaway from this project. So let's begin. As a result of being the victim in the film, I was able to understand how all these rights interconnect with one another. So I subsequently realized all these things happening post film, and I just wrote it out, and it's pretty long. So first off, and most evidently, I would lose a right to freedom, leading to the loss of the right to life and liberty and personal security, and therefore I would not choose where I live, and that means I would be losing the right to adequate housing. Now we can understand that a victim's right to an opinion is virtually non-existent within the world of human trafficking. And you know, when I was writing these out, these were the ones that were the most obvious to me. But as I was typing more and more and getting more focus into the situation, I realized that there's longer lasting effects, such as the loss of education, the loss of the right to marry and have a family, the loss of having a free trial. Ultimately, I would lose the right to self-autonomy, and I think that's the real, the gold nugget of information that we can take away from this project, because, well, I was able to be put in the shoes and share what I now was able to take away from the project, which is, I think, the goal of the whole project. So, thank you.
Before choosing our topic of human trafficking, I did not know a lot about human trafficking. This was mostly Julie's idea. She was very determined about it, so I decided to go along with it because it's good to learn about something you don't know. I didn't know a lot about it because it is not discussed a lot due to the lack of news coverage on this topic. And not a lot of college students talk about human trafficking. There are more human rights violations that are talked about, political conversations due to the election coming up next year, as well as recent shootings that people are more worried about, which, yes, don't get me wrong, is a huge problem. All I knew before learning about this topic and doing research was that Nevada had legal prostitution with high guidelines needed to follow to have them open. So the girls have to get tested every week and they can only work within the brothel. In learning more about this topic of discussion, I see how much of a problem it is and how much it's swept under the rug in news. With the statistics found, and we don't have a lot of laws to prohibit this from occurring, which is a problem, and that's why it's so big. And the second most lucrative to drug trafficking, which is also not as talked about, except more in recent years due to a lot of people dying and overdosing. There's more talk about drug trafficking. There's over 14,500 to about 17,500 victims who are trafficked in the U.S. annually, and honestly, that's too big of a number for us to have. 6 in 10 people can be identified as traffic survivors, and the girls themselves make up about 90% of the sexual exploitation victims in those areas. That's all I got.
Alright, so I jotted down a few notes, and this is what I wrote. So at least 20.9 million people are bought and sold worldwide, and it's hard to believe that this is true, but it is, and it happens worldwide and locally. There's actually a case in Albany that happened recently. In early 2015, 10 people were arrested in Albany County because of human trafficking, and the investigation was in Colony. The 10 people who were arrested were arraigned on charges from promoting prostitution, and unauthorized practice of profession. So Albany sheriffs investigated spas, Chinese spas that were located in Colony. 4 spas were investigated and shut down. And the private massage rooms in these spas doubled as rooms for prostitution. And most human trafficking legislation that we have today, like the Mann Act, focuses on worldwide rings and the importation of people. But what we don't have is legislature that focuses on prostitution locally and prostitution in small businesses, which is actually way more common than not. We need more small-scale legislature for human trafficking.
We had our time to be funny and playful and all of that. Now it's time to get serious, because this is a serious issue. It's global. It is worldwide. It's happening everywhere, and just nobody's talking about it. And the problem with nobody talking about it is that means that there's no push for things to be solved. There's no push for new legislation. Like the most recent legislation reform to protect victims of human trafficking was from 1986, I think. Like, that's crazy. So what we think are the biggest problems is the fact that, number one, it seems like the criminals who are doing these acts, who are kidnapping people, who are selling them into the system, they don't think that the punishment is big enough to deter them from doing what they're doing. They don't think it's a problem. They don't think they're going to get caught. So what needs to be done with that, I believe that we should do harsher punishments, much harsher punishments. We should have fines on top of our punishments. We should make it so that if you are found guilty of trafficking a person, especially for the reason of forced prostitution, you should be forced to help law enforcement catch your buddies. Like, that should be your punishment, along with incarceration for so many years and fines on top of your incarceration. You're going to be buried in fines. I think another problem is that victims are somehow being targeted by the system. The system is so wrapped up in, this and that they're not looking at these people have been through such traumatic events. Like, there was an article that said people who were trafficked into the United States, it was technically illegal immigration. So when they were rescued from the prostitution rings, they were then charged with illegal immigration. What does that even mean? So I think that there should be more laws, there should be more legislation to protect victims, because they are victims. They did not want this to happen. Nobody wants that to happen to them. Nobody wants to be forced to go out of their home country or do anything they don't want to do. I also think that there needs to be legislation for victims so that they can get better treatment. They should be insured treatment after they are rescued. They need to be able to properly function mentally and physically after being put through such traumatic events. That is extremely important. They have to deal with PTSD. They have to deal with, physical harm. They have to deal with, all types of issues. And there isn't enough light put on that. This is what needs to be done. This is what we think needs to be done. This is what has not been done yet.
That. No, okay, not like that.
0.9, all of it. Go. Damn, then zoom out. The fuck is a boat down here? And slowly pan out.
Yeah.
I don't know why the fuck there's a boat in my fucking presentation. Okay.
I'm
Let
sorry,
me just-
you emailed this to me.
Let me
this
just
presentation.
turn my back passively to whoever would like to. Thank you. Oh shit, I should be passed out.
Who's starting this off?
We're waiting for action.
Okay, we're waiting for action.
He's been recording this though.
I am recording this. Action.
Head teacher, Professor Sabrina. Yeah, like that.
Okay, so we all gotta be acting this out.
Wrong person. It was your mom, wasn't it? No.
Serious, guys. Get serious.
Is he not answering?
It's raining. Okay, we're gonna edit that out. I know a guy.
You should call him up.
Bring, bring.
I can see your website page. Like, can you actually dial it though?
Okay.
Where?
Sabrina, no!
I need that. Him or what? In the chair.
Well,
Also her phone.
Word. I wasn't gonna harm the phone. No phone.
Okay.
No phones were harmed in this process.
Alright, are we ready? You gonna say action?
He's been
You already-
recording us.
Oh my god.
You could just cut it
Can you
whenever you
stop
want.
and then like read?
Okay, wait.
I'm like actually requesting that. Can you stop and then start over recording? Action!
You can't do that. I was ready. You did that.
Can we start over?
You got us fucked up.
I'm sorry.
Now we're just messed up.
You good? Action. Your shoes were in though.
What are those? Wait, it's still recording.
Whoops.
Discomfortable situation and topic, so fuck that.
Did you just say discomfortable?
Because I'm so discomfortable right now. I'm trying to talk to you, but I can't.
Okay, then I'll look more up at you.
But if I make eye contact, it'll look like I'm fucking like having a seizure.
Look into the camera.
But I'm trying to have a conversation with her. That way it won't feel awkward.
Okay.
Then talk to me.
Okay. Well, let's see how this goes.
Just don't put your do that again.
Yeah, don't.
That's how I think.
I think like this though.
Well, you can't talk like that. Ugh.
Yeah, again.
God, this is so weird. Ready?
I don't like
Yeah,
that he's sitting in the lounge chair.
Can I stand and do this?
sure.
No, you can't do that. Stop. Shoot those directing bullets at me. Start over. Why did you do that?
What?
You were like,
Ready,
God,
ready?
shoot me with a lightning bolt.
Ready?
Yeah. Cengage login. Good. Hello again, Crystal. I fucking said, stop. One more time.
3, 2.
The right to life, liberty, and personal security. Which, oh my God. Stop. I see you.
I didn't.
This is Leandy at work. Say hi, Leandy.
Hi, Crystal.
Look at this one. Her foot's on the desk. She's supposed to be working.
It's work. She said hi. That was perfect. Alright. So,
Chained to your back. But the scariest part was when the cart started moving and I had no idea where I was going, which I make analogous to someone getting put into a trunk or some kind of like apparatus to transport them to wherever they're going. And you definitely feel a lot. It's an uncomfortable situation, which definitely stimulates negative emotions. And I'm squatting down right now because I can't act. So bear with me. Please give me space. Hi, Crystal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And hugs and kisses.